much. Are you jealous?
Oh shit, here we go again.
That is crazy, bro.
I know y'all just saw that transition. You feel me? I know y'all just saw that. It's another episode of Type Beat. It's your man, I Make Mad Beats, and today my cast is simply
Kid Maestro.
What up, what up? Kid Maestro in the back, just singular, you know what I'm saying? Person in the view right there. Yeah, another episode of Type Beat live from outer space and Unapologetic Studio. Big shout out to my G Jackson, who blessed us. Oh, you know what? We got to do it again. All right, you know what I'm saying? We got to do it again. You know what I'm saying? As we build Type Beat in the world of Type Beat, you know, things are coming together. We got a good friend, a guy working with us. We worked with him on a project before, and now he's continuing to work with us here in our own space. The homie Jackson Hendricks is in the building. Everybody give it up for my man Jackson.
Whoa!
You know yeah! And he blessed us with this.
That's crazy. Come on, man.
We professionals now, man. We do this. We've been doing this for 10 years just off of that, man. You know what I'm
saying? Wait, Wallow, you know what I'm saying? Y'all watch out, bro. Our podcast is on the come up, bro.
It is what it is. Cam, Mace.
You know
what I'm saying? We coming for you off that. You know what I'm saying? Pause.
We coming for you off that.
Yeah. So, Kid, man, what we talking about, bro? It's just me and you, man.
Yeah,
today, the usual cast of big shout out my G, C Major, shout out my G, Unique, and LJ. You know what I'm saying? We have a variety of things happening today that, you know, where they are where they're supposed to be. Right. And today it's just me and Kid Maestro in the building. Yeah. Kid, what's up, man?
Yeah, bro. I just wanted to go back, bro. It's been a great, you know, you had posted, you posted and then showed me when we first unveiled the Unapologetic banner, the OG joint at the announcement at I Make Bad Barbecue too, when we announced Unapologetic as a thing. And I just thought it might be a good opportunity, since we've been here from the beginning of this, to just kind of like reminisce on like what were the situations that led up to this, what were some of the lessons along the way. And yeah, just the journey. And where I want to start is not necessarily the beginning. Now we can backtrack, but bruh, I feel like this was a pivotal like moment this was a pivotal moment, like for me, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to know how it became pivotal for you, because it had to have been, bro. So, you know, I met you at U of M,
right.
you know, at a session. I remember you saying your name was I Make Mad Beats, and I'm pretty sure, just like everybody at the time, it threw me off because it's a sentence,
right?
And it was like, that's your name? Yeah. He was like, yeah, and it's like, you know, it's like, all right, that's your name. You know what I mean? Right. You was definitely in the background. You know, we connect on social media. You know what I'm saying? We talk back and forth. Yep. You know, every once in a while, I come to a showcase. You invite me to your crib afterward, and you say, man, just stick around. Because I'm like, yo, what do I got to do to this? You just say, just be around. And I stayed around. And, okay, so that's the origin story. But this was the real, I feel like this was like a real defining moment. Mm-hmm. When I was at your crib at Dirty Socks in Andromeda, mm-hmm. you played Mother Sang with the video. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure my reaction was like most reactions you get. It's like, dang, yo, that was crazy. Yeah. I'm pretty confident. Well, I'm not sure if I had played you some music before then.
I don't think so. Oh, shit.
You know.
Damn, my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I played you some music. I don't think I did. But I just remember, you know, you played that, and it was like, yo, what? Like, it just sounded so good. It was so professional, and, you know, just the people I had been around and the stuff I experienced up, you know, to that point. You know, I hadn't met a rapper in real life that was as good as Pro at the time, and then I certainly hadn't, like, heard any production like in real life that was on that level. And then for it to be instrumental and then paired with the visual, like, it was a real experience. You know what I mean? Like, you know, on top of like seeing you, you know, perform live on some beat type stuff, and then to like look at that presentation, I don't know, it was just very affirming. Like, I was seeing a person who's got his own crib off making music, making beats. I was like, yo, this is so possible. But Mother Sang, I feel like I've seen you. You know, Mother Sang was like our leading thing when we was going around explaining to people what Unapologetic was. We had the comic book, like that was the junt. And so I want to know what that, when you made that, like, what was that as pivotal for you as it was for pretty much everybody else? Because I feel like, I don't know, Mother Sang kind of got us all here, bro. I feel like it united a lot of people, you know. Like, you created this thing, and I feel like it created community off this beat, in my opinion.
Wow, that's a wild statement. I mean, it kind of, well, first, man, thank you. That's a wild, I mean, I don't think I've ever looked at it like that. And I don't think I ever would have looked at it like that. But just, you know, transparently speaking, like, man, it all feeds the story of this company in the realest way possible. Meaning, like, you know, when I made Mother Sang, when I made the entire Better Left Unsaid, but specifically Mother Sang, that was probably like the loneliest year of my adult life, right? Because, like, when I made it, I wasn't a part of any, like, actually moving team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I was a part of DMG. I'm forever going to be a part, because that's my brother and my cousin. You know what I'm saying? Like, till the day I die, I'm going to be a part of that. You know, but we weren't actively pursuing anything. I had just left another organization, which is the one I met Pro in, we just had different visions at the time. You know what I'm saying? And I was primarily moving on my own. And that was like the most alone I had been as a producer, probably since I started. And so what it let me do was really explore me. And I just remember, like, just a little bit before I made that, I changed the bar. You know what I'm saying? I told myself, like, I'm no longer trying to make the best beat. I'm trying to make the most me thing. Like, that's the bar now. Yeah. The bar is like, when I listen to something that I create, do I hear my influences? Do I hear somebody else? Or do I hear me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that was, and I was going through a process of that. I was learning more about music theory and the kinds of sounds and textures that I loved. And I was just doing it alone in the room for about a year, and the only other person who was coming by was Kevin DeLebon. Big shout out my man Kevin DeLebon.
Shout out Kevin DeLebon.
Always shout out Kevin DeLebon. You know what I'm saying? And he's an artist, no doubt, but like that wasn't the capacity that he was coming by. It was just as my homie. You know what I'm saying? Like he would just come by and we would just kick it and talk. And so, in that year, I feel like I really found out like who is adult I Make Mad Beats when he has space and time, right? So like when I'm not struggling to pay the rent, when I'm not like trying to, figure something out for a group of people, right? But it's just me. Who am I as an artist? That's when I made Mother Sang. That's when I came up with the whole idea for the animation. That's when, everything, like that whole idea around that project came from me being alone, and not even being alone, being lonely, like really missing that kind of camaraderie. But it was necessary to change my focus, change my perspective a bit. And so like when people tell me about the impact of Mother Sang, because that's, I don't think I understood the depth of the impact, but Mother Sang is like 9 times out of 10, if you knew me in that era, like your origin story with me is like, yo, when he showed the video, the animation, when people would see that, and that was like, they're like, who is this guy? And it came from a moment of solitude. And so for you to say, the reason why I say that fits the origin story of this company so well is because what you're really telling me is that me doing what was necessary to become and show more of myself attracted more people, right? And let me be clear about something. That was not easy, right? It's not easy to change the perspective, to change the roadmap, to say, all right, I'm not trying to make the best thing. I'm trying to make it to where when I hear it, like that's hard to do, to say the new goal is you. Like to accept that, to not feel like that's vain or that you're gonna lose out on opportunities because you should be competing. You know what I'm saying?
When you made that though, did you feel like when you were in the process of it or after it was done or any point during the creation of that, did you feel like it was a risk? Like for that song? I mean, because it's hard as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't imagine me making that and being like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean, you got to look at it like this though. Like there's always absolutely, you know what I'm saying? Because like, okay, yeah, first of all, after I made it, I was instantly a fan of it. And let me be clear, 90% of the stuff I make, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? And after I made that, I was instantly a fan of it. But, when you're used to being like positioned as like a different guy, or some sort of alien, or some sort of like that guy's different, like I could be a fan of it, but I just don't know if y'all will be. You know what I'm saying? Because every time I talk to somebody, I'm a different guy. And if I'm being 100% honest, like to be able to make that and release that, and my foundational crowd is from Memphis.
Right.
I'm not sure if y'all gonna feel that at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not what typically you expect from somebody from Orange Mound. Like, kung fu movie stuff with dark, dusty drums and cinematic strings and you know, it's different, you know, and yeah, I'm coming out the mound, you know what I'm saying? And when I drop it, like I'm setting up an event locally. Now, what a lot of y'all don't know is that I went on tour promoting this project right before that event. But like the big show is like in Memphis, downtown Memphis, you know, and I'm out here doing something that's not, I'm not doing that. And you know what I'm saying? On this project at all, you know, with respect to it, I love that, but that's not what I was doing. So I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. That's so interesting. Like, I mean, it's exactly what we be talking about, bro. You like, when you unapologetically yourself, when you, the more vulnerable you become with your art, you inspire others to do the same. And so it's just interesting just to hear, like, that that wasn't easy. You know, because it is so you, and, you know, everything you do is very, I don't know, consistent. And you, like, the world you live in, you're just kind of dedicated to it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like I knew you and you were secretly interested in drums that sounded like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, like that was, like, there was definitely an ecosystem around that. And so it all makes sense because the rest of your life was very consistent in who you are. I didn't detect a lot of dissonance when it came to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about me, man. Is that, you know, that I think people think I am more confident than I actually am. I think so many people are used to doubt keeping them from crossing the street, that when you see somebody cross the street, you just assume that they're not doubting.
Yeah, they don't have it.
Yeah.
But nah, that's not the difference between you and them. You know what I'm saying? The difference is what you allow doubt to do. You know what I'm saying? The power you give doubt.
That's it. And I think, like, you know, I think so many, there's so many times, like my wife, same thing, you know what I'm saying? Like she told me she thought I was the most confident person ever. I was the most insecure person ever when she met me. You know, the only difference is just that, like, when I say I'm going to do it, I do it. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm the kind of person where if I let fear win, I would be embarrassed to myself. Like, I would go to sleep at night with the anxiety that, like, fear actually stopped me from doing something, right? Like, that is, like, and that's the thing, is, like, I'm my worst critic. I'm the coach. I'm the fans, you know? So in my mind, if fear wins, there's an audience in my mind that is, like, laughing at me.
Yeah, that's all it is, like, this weak ass nigga, or, you know what I'm saying? It's like them voices. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely,
man. So I like, you know, I just try to keep it moving, man, and actually be afraid or be fearful, but keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Yeah. So, Mother Sang, for those of you that you know haven't heard it, you know, it's on YouTube. You go watch the animated short. Did Gift Revolver actually do the animation too?
Nah, so Gift did the art. Yeah. You know what? I think you actually changed it to a manual focus and put it right on his face. Yeah. Because it keeps changing on autofocus. Big shout out to my man Jackson doing the adjustments live. No, actually it wasn't Gift. Gift did. He drew everything, and he drew it in a way that made it easy for my man Synopse. Big shout out to my man Synopse. AKA Okiddo, you know what I'm saying? That's his real name. He goes by that now. He actually did the animation for it. I believe he did it in Final Cut too. Yeah.
Dang. You can do animation in Final Cut.
Just a whole bunch of frame.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you know. He actually did it all himself. Yeah. And that joint was, you know, I remember they got like 75% through with it. And like just seeing how it was going, it made me change the music. Like there's a part at the end where the piano kind of goes solo and it's like an extra run. That actually came later.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, this is now a movie. Let me make this beat an actual score.
So if I'm not mistaken, that was done before Unapologetic was a thought.
Absolutely.
And so, if I'm remembering correctly, it's not the only thing, but part of what the desire to start a label was to have a place to release what you made, right?
Absolutely.
So like, what was the climate of the other options, other labels, what I'm saying, that made that not the move for you?
All right, so this one is this is gonna be an interesting jump for y'all, man. Big shout out to the legend that is Illmind. For my producer community out there, I'm sure you heard of Illmind. He's an innovator in at least 5 different ways.
Right.
In the creative community, I can't even say producer community anymore. Definitely an innovator. And I was, when I lived in New York, I would run into Illmind a lot. I met Illmind outside of a beat society. And we dapped up. Big shout out my man Slop Funk Dust, who introduced us. He also introduced me to Knife Wonder, Nicolay, crazy times, you know what I'm saying? We would keep in contact because we were in the same area. I think he was in Jersey, and I was just either in Long Island or in Brooklyn. And sometimes he would do beat showcases, and me and him, we both used an ASR 10. So he would invite me out there, and I would play at the beat showcases, and we became friends. And when I moved to Memphis, shortly after that, he had started a label where he wanted like the center of it to be producers. It was called Rose something. I can't remember the name of it. But he was starting a label, man. And a homie of his manager, which is another homie of mine, was the manager there. And he reached out and said, hey, man, Illmind's starting a label. Would you be interested in submitting a project, to put out on this label? And I said, yeah, man, of course, man. Illmind is, legend. Illmind's been a legend, like, since he started. He's one of the most talented people I've ever seen in my life. And so I was like, yeah, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? So I started putting together this project. And when I started talking to, the guy I was communicating with at his label, I just began to get more and more of a vision of how I wanted it to happen. Right? So it wasn't just like, here's a project, I got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was really like, this has got to happen, and this has got to happen, and this has got to happen. And again, like, this is the year of solitude for me. So I'm realizing more and more and more, like, man, am I a visionary? Like, because, like, I'm not just seeing my part. I'm seeing every part. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm seeing the whole movie. Like, I'm seeing everything about the rollout, its effect on people, how it happens, the timing of things, and, and big shout out to Illmind's label and what they were doing, man. But like, after there was some back and forth on how it could potentially happen, then it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, And I'm gonna be clear about something. Like, I'm not saying that they were great people, great ideas, etc. It just wasn't the way I had it in my head.
Right.
And that's when I remember thinking to myself, like, nah, man, I think I want to bet on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, because at the time, I don't have a kid, if I'm being honest, and this is Type Beat, so I'm going to keep it all the way real with y'all, man. Like, I had the money. I was still making New York-esque money off of my music while living in Memphis. So I had the spare change. I had the money for the PR, the marketing, all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, man, I don't know. I feel like, you know, some people are gonna think I'm crazy, but like, I think I just want to do this on my own. You know, but again, you're faced with the question of like, okay, if I do this on my own, it's so funny now because now these are systems. These are things I tell people, I advise people on. And at the time, I'm literally just figuring this out in real time. Like, if I put this out on my own, I need something to explain it. Right? You know, I need a world to explain it. I study the shit out of Madlib, you know what I'm saying, out of all of my favorite producers and the worlds that they came from. So Madlib wasn't just Madlib. Madlib was a part of Stone's Throw, right? And while Madlib was Madlib 1000%, what Stone's Throw stood for helped explain Madlib.
Yeah.
Right? And what he was doing. And I was just thinking to myself, like, man, like, well, what's my version of that? And that was the beginning thoughts of Unapologetic.
Dang, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had, you know, more so, I could definitely see how that must have been pretty nerve-wracking to basically be turning down Ill Mind. Like, not only somebody that you know what I'm saying, and you know, but you also respect immensely, you know what I'm saying? It clearly has connections. And then you got reached out to, you know what I'm saying? Like, they reached out to you and you basically turned it down. Like, I can imagine that was a pretty, all right, you know what I'm saying? If we're going to do this, we got to do this type situation.
Absolutely. I mean, that was like, you know, but at this point, though, you got to realize, like, at this point, I'm post-Quad, right? I'm post-Quad. I'm post-Eddie Arroyo. You know what I'm saying? So for those who don't know, I was an engineer at Quad. Bruh. You know what? I don't know if y'all tuning in right now, but one day, anybody who was at Quad with me, y'all got to chime in with me on. One day we gotta go live and talk about these stories, bruh. About how we used to race to Bank of America to see who could actually get their checks cashed because there wasn't enough money in Quad Studios' bank account to pay us all.
Wow.
Right? And then we had to go back to Ricky and be like, hey, what's up, man? My check didn't go through. Sorry, Nemo, you got to wait another week or 2 weeks or a month.
Yo, what?
Right? Yeah, nah, the morale, that's the thing. Is, man, I'm telling you, bro, these people, they live and die knowing that you're desperate for an amazing opportunity and they will treat you like shit. You know what I'm saying? You worked, and you know, and that's the thing about when you're working at Quad. We're not working 8-hour days. We're in the studio for 17 hours for one session. No designated lunchtime. No, we just working. And then at the end of that week, you don't know if you're going to get paid, even if you got your check.
You sitting there looking at how much your check is supposed to be.
Yep.
You don't know if you getting paid. That's crazy.
That was our life. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, some of us, and that's the thing is like, and you know, and then it was on some slave stuff, bro. Like some people just got closer to Ricky. Some people got closer to Ricky, and the closer you was with Ricky, Ricky will tell you, all right, the money's in there. Then you would go to the bank for everybody else.
Dang.
Crazy.
Bro, what? To get paid? What
to get the money you earned. You know what I'm saying?
To get the money they wrote you a check for.
Absolutely. You got the check.
They wrote you.
You're not waiting on the check. Yeah. You have it in your hand.
Like, how do you write a check? Bro, folks is literally writing checks they can't cash.
Absolute.
Bro, that's the first time. I thought that was just a figure of speech.
Nah, man. That was like, that's how we all were living for years, man. You know what I'm saying? Man. Like, you know, it was tough, man. And like, you know, you're sitting there anytime management was not there, the staff was just like, fuck management. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, the morale at Quad Studios was, I have never seen anything lower than that since then.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody hated the executive structure at Quad Studios, you know? And the only reason people there became friends with them was so that way when they got their check, maybe they could actually get their money. I fucking hated it, you know? And so, like, I wanted to say, like, this was post that, meaning, like, letting go of something that most people on planet Earth would say is an amazing opportunity.
Right.
And saying, fuck that, I can do this better on my own.
So you were used to making those kinds of decisions.
Absolutely.
With those kinds of stakes.
Absolutely.
Dang, bro. Yeah, like, I don't know. The more I'm just thinking about it, like, obviously, man, you know, you brought this whole thing together. Like, you started this. But, I don't know, just the more I think about it, it's just like you couldn't have been as, you know, visionary as you are, as you know, I think you're talented. As talented as you are, you know, as hardworking as you are, I feel like you couldn't have done this without those scars. You know what I mean? Like, and those tough experiences, those like defining moments where it's like, nah, I said no, and now, you know, it sets you up to be able to lead. You know what I'm saying? And say no in other, you know, pivotal moments, like, you know, when you was looking out for me, when you said no to, you know, your financial partner at the time for the beginning of this, like all of those things, I don't know, you know, if you would have built up, you know, the character to be able to make that decision. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like that's the thing is like, you know, people just be saying that, but like I really wouldn't trade any of this. You know what? I think I would trade a moment in my history if I felt like I didn't learn something from it. But I tend to learn something from everything.
Right.
So like when I feel smarter or more educated after I go through something crazy, then keep that on the resume. You know, that's another thing that most people don't know is like, you know, and you know, we were talking about this maybe yesterday, I think it was, where it's like, you know, Unapologetic, when we first came up with the idea of it, you know, shortly afterwards, Unapologetic was supposed to be a partnership, right? It was supposed to be 50% owned between me and my partner. And my partner was coming in with at least, you know, 50% of the initial investment money, right? Which would have, you know, if not gotten close to, would have landed us with an initial 6-figure investment to start an independent label. You know what I'm saying? And that was something else that, you know, I had to let go of, you know, and I had to be like, man, you know, this is not going to work. And I had to say no. And that was extremely hard. To change the dynamic of leadership, to take on two people's roles, and then to say, all right, the initial investment for this company is half or less than that. Man, I hope these guys still can believe in me, you know. Especially at the time where our number one artist was Cameron Bethany, and knowing how talented he is, how I feel like he's a superstar, you know, to do that, you know, that was hard, bro, you know.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it goes to show that like the reason you let that go, right, which was character over everything, it showed, I think that moment, like the aftermath of that moment, also showed that is truly more important. Character is more important than everything, because, you know, all of us at the time who were on the team chose character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we chose your character, and that's what we, you know, that's who we follow. We didn't follow, you know, the money, or we didn't lose face because of the lack of money or, you know, an obstacle. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And
hey, bro, I'm gonna keep it real, man. Like, you know, hey, bro, you know, this is the first time I'm ever publicly saying this. You know what I'm saying? You know, if y'all viewing, y'all about to catch a real moment. You know, after I let go of my partner and building Unapologetic, man. And let me be clear about something. Man, he's a good dude, you know. He just had issues that I knew would get in the way of the culture I was trying to build with this company. And I just wanted to give him the space to do that. I'll leave it at that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, some things happened where it made it obvious to me that there were issues. You know, and I had to have a meeting with him that was incredibly hard to have. And we parted ways. I remember, you know, a few days later, I'm at my studio, which is my home studio. And I got, at the time, my man Aaron, who's event coordinator, Cam and Kid, you know, are all there. I can't remember what was going on specifically or why everybody was there. But I just remember telling whoever was in the room, hey, you know, this person is no longer involved in what we're doing here. That dramatically changes leadership, investment. It dramatically changes, you know, my roles. You know, I have to do the things I don't think I'm particularly good at now. And it changes how well I think all of this happens, you know, how smoothly it happens and how enjoyable it happens, you know. And I just remember after telling that to everybody, unsure of what everybody was going to, and prepared for anything. I was prepared for people to be like, all right, man, well, let's just take a step back and let's just fall back and you know, regroup later or something. You know what I'm saying? But everybody was like, nah, Neem, whatever you do or whatever you doing, we with you. Like, you know, we got to restructure, fine, let's do it. Let's do it together, you know. And I just remember being like, okay, cool, man, yo, thanks, you know what I'm saying? That's love. But the part that nobody knows is just that, like, you know, when everybody left that night, like, I cried. You know what I'm saying? Because I've never really fashioned myself as a leader, you know. Now, I mean, I clearly believe, and I have to believe now, after all these years, that I am capable of being a leader and that I am a capable leader. But, like, I've never just looked in the mirror and thought to myself, like, yo, that guy's a leader. Never. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always felt like, all right, well, I got to figure out how to lead, you know, how to be somebody that people can believe in, you know. Because I just never really looked at myself like that. And so when people chose to continue to allow me to lead this vision and for them to follow my lead, I mean, it was just extremely overwhelming emotionally, and daunting, right?
Yeah.
Like, all right, Neem, what's your next magic trick? Like, yeah. You know, like, yeah, you made dope beats. What's next? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, you know, you got to figure it out. Let's go to get some rest and wake up the next day and figure out what the hell we gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, bro, look, for everybody, you know, I'm a testament. Yeah, that was the right move. You know what I'm saying? Like, it truly is. And I think that's kind of like so to me, when the Unapologetic documentary comes out and we gotta scroll through the list of names, I'm not saying this is the one, but I feel like probably like the number one, number two, top 5 themes of the internal part of Unapologetic and its story up to this point is leadership, right? The journey of being and becoming a leader. And that's happened for pretty much everybody on the team. Everybody's like somewhere on that journey.
Yep. And
it's a very intentional journey that like gets addressed very regularly in this team. And so, you know, my leadership style has definitely grown and evolved, you know, because of the gauntlet of you and I's relationship, and you know, the many conversations and lessons and situations that we find ourselves in, and just the need to to step up, like, hey, the accountability factor. But it very much was like on some Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid kind of relationship between you and I, especially since when I came into this, I was like very young. I was 20. I just turned 21 when this started. So, even if I was capable, like, it was just a lack of experience, to be applied to whatever I was willing to do. You know what I mean? So, like, you got to see a lot of my leadership growth. Like, I had the seeds of it in high school from like clubs and stuff. I definitely had leadership roles, but I mean, you've seen pretty much, how I get to this point. Do you feel like Unapologetic was like your leadership learning, Jens, or did that start before this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like my leadership journey started with my brother Midas the Beast. Big shout out my G Midas the Beast.
Shout out
James. James and James. You know what I'm saying? Midas is like my very first like little brother. You know what I'm saying? And he's also, I'll be honest, when Midas say he's the greatest rapper of all time, I'll be like, it's quite possible.
It's really like that.
Yeah, every once in a while somebody else will drop a verse and I'll be like, damn. And Midas will, I'll be like, he might be,
Yeah.
Midas, most talented people on planet Earth, you know what I'm saying? And his trust in me, forced me into leadership too. You know what I'm saying? Being his producer, his engineer, that was probably the beginning. Also, like learning how to have patience came with dealing with Midas. Learning how to have patience came with dealing with Midas. Learning what misaligned values was, I learned a lot of lessons just in the brotherhood of me and Midas. I think that's really when it started. I think, and the other organizations I was a part of, definitely a little bit in DMG, a lot in Tradon, right? I learned a lot about leadership in Tradon. Just what worked in leadership, what didn't work in leadership, how leadership isn't really a title. Leadership is a set of habits, action, and integrity. Right? So, like, who becomes the leader is not who has the title of leadership. You know what I'm saying? It's who people believe in their integrity, their habits, and their patterns. That's the leader, or that's a leader. You know what I'm saying? We were all, even then, like, that was 10 years ago. That's wild. You know what I'm saying? So we were all significantly young or younger. Big shout out to all my brothers and sisters at Intradon, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot with those people. We shared a lot of days and nights and good times and tough times, and there was just a lot to learn. So I think a lot of that played a role. I know by the time I got to Unapologetic, I had like very stern rules that I just never had before. Understand, like, by the time I got to Unapologetic, as a producer engineer, if you had a session with me and you were 20 minutes late, I waved at you through the window. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, it's over. Like, your session is over. And it wasn't about add more time later, it was about respect, integrity, respecting people's time, and like training for war. Because this is an uphill battle. the odds are not in our favor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta train, we gotta do push-ups on our fingertips. You know what I'm saying? And if you weren't about that, then it's really a waste of my time. Like even if you were to pay me, like if I didn't see in you the ability, the discipline to take what we created to the next level, then I don't want to create with you. What's the point? Money? I'm good.
Right.
Be honest, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know. So that was, you know, by the time you came around, kid, you know, we went through some of this together.
Yeah.
You know, we went through some of what I'm saying. Like I think one of the first big lessons that you learned being around me was some of what I'm stating right now. And you know, big shout out my G Pro, who is my brother, who is, you know, to the death a part of this team. But at that time, it was quite a turbulent scenario. And you got to watch that level of like, no, this is the standard. If not that, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. Over brotherhood, you know what I mean? Like over talent, you know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned, you know, when I first moved here, I was at U of M in the recording technology program. And so I was learning how to be in the studio, just engineering and that kind of stuff. And on my orientation, like I mentioned, they had this session going, and Pro is like one of the main artists because he was signed to the school's record label, Blue Time, at the time. And bruh, like I was like, yo, this is like a real artist. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, you know, like everybody got friends that rap and make beats, but I don't know, Pro was the first person I was like, yo, this is the real thing. Like, yo, it's crazy. And since then, he's always been like yeah. I never, you know, I didn't meet Pro when he was bad. You know what I mean? Like, or if that ever was a thing, you know, so.
I don't think so.
Like, I was very clear of how good he was, and I was made aware through time, you know, because I was over there every day, like how close you two were and how deep you guys' history was. And, you know, I don't know, that was just a big learning lesson because I felt like I was more emotionally attached than I thought you were to, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know, I couldn't make the hard decisions as easily as you could. And again, shout out Pro. Like, Pro is out here, you know what I'm saying? And he's grown the same way I've grown, you know, and that's why he's here. But nah, man, like, you know, he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. And I was like, yo, just give him a chance. Like, why don't we just create a scenario where we spell it out for him and make it extremely easy, you know what I'm saying? And have him coming in and doing all this stuff to prove, you know what I mean, for a period. Yeah. And then it was doing that. But then, you know, he showed up late. Yeah. Right? And then I had to eat all that. I think the biggest lesson was it was a waste of time to have gone through all of that, to end up at the same result with a tougher conversation. And wasted, it was obviously a learning lesson. It was necessary. I wouldn't say don't do that, but like, I don't know. I needed to see the pattern of that to truly absorb the lesson. But the lesson was like, you can waste a lot of time, you know, being afraid to call out what you see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I also want to make a point. First of all, absolute, that was the lesson. But I also want to make a point. The same way I said, like, you know, being afraid does not keep me from crossing the street. I'm across the street. And in fact, I'm across the street in a way that's going to make you make you feel like I was never afraid, right? The same thing applies in this scenario, where it's like, you were mostly attached to the success of Pro. I was more. Right. Understand, that's my brother.
Exactly. And I think just seeing that, like, that was a part of the lesson. It's just that, like, or the admiration, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the realization's like, damn, like, leadership, you know what I'm saying? When you're leading, after everybody's decided where we're going, you know what I mean? And now we need a leader to go there. Yeah. Like, part of that is, no. We said we was going here, and we agreed that we was going here. And my job right now is to get us there. Now, if we want to change that, fine, that's a different conversation. But if I'm supposed to be getting us here, like, tough decisions have to be called. And just the dedication to that part, you know what I mean? Like, I think that in spite of that being your family, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's not really who I am. You know what I'm saying? Or that's not, how I've conditioned to react to certain situations. And I feel like that's like been part of the biggest growth of my journey through this. This is why I call it leadership. Because everything is just everybody, it's a team of generals. That's something you used to say all the time. Yeah. Like we are like an army of generals, not of bosses, you know what I'm saying? Not employees.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that was so important, that whatever it is, that you could be the leader, that at some point, people, when you walk into a room, people are not sure, like, who's the leader. I don't know. I really take that to heart. So,
yeah. Just to clarify something that he's saying, like, one of the things that I told my team, maybe from the beginning, and if not at the beginning, very close to the beginning, it was just that, like, no, this is a team of leaders. Like, the goal is to get us in a place or in a position where when people witness us, moving or doing something, no one is incredibly sure who the leader is, right? Because there is so much ownership of what happens and so much holding yourself and others accountable to what they said they were going to do, right? We talk about leadership. One of the first top five, let me just say this, in the beginning, one of the top five, things that I found myself having to like make sure that my generals understood was that, like, if something went wrong, if somebody didn't show up, if somebody, just didn't represent the best character, if somebody, had a lapse in something, right? If my team waited on me to call it out, something was wrong. Like, if you saw it, it'd be different. If you saw it happen, if you said, all right, everybody was supposed to be here at 8 o'clock, y'all showed up at 7:45, right? And then so-and-so showed up at 8:20, right? Okay, if everybody saw that person show up at 8:20, right? It's not like this person came in and you didn't know he was late. That's different. Right? But you saw it happen. You knew what time we were supposed to be there. Why are we waiting on Mad Beats to call this out? Right? Are y'all afraid of holding each other accountable? Because if you are, this is not going to work. Championship teams are not built that way. Right? Championship teams are, you're not on your block. You were supposed to set that pick. It shouldn't just be the coach.
Right.
It should be other players. It should be players on the bench holding you accountable. And you're supposed to be held accountable. You're supposed to know, no, actually, I was supposed to be there. You're not supposed to get defensive. You're not supposed to get, fight back or nah. Did you say you was going to be here at 8 o'clock? Were you here at 8 o'clock? Well, then. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shouldn't just be the relationship between like the leader and like everybody else. That should be the relationship between everyone and their team, right? The way I would word it is this: the fight we have in front of us, all of us can be a part of getting us to the next level or keeping us from the next level. What are you gonna do to make sure the person beside you is doing what they're supposed to do?
Right.
Because I can't be everywhere all the time. And that was a tough thing to like really make happen.
To like sew in.
Absolutely. Because people, there are people within this team that just wasn't a part of their personality. They're usually just chilling. They don't want to cause no problems. They're not confrontational, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just telling people like, okay, I understand when that works for you in your personal life, but as far as team goes, that's not going to work.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like, I feel like us as a team, is like way better at that. But you know, it's not even like the, you know, the holding each other accountable to show up on time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the part. I feel like specifically, like, your unique role was to hold everybody accountable to holding people accountable. Like,
but even that, like that was a very intentional, like that wasn't, I remember when I had to change the railroad tracks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't how it was. I wasn't thinking that way in the beginning.
Right.
In the beginning, I was just thinking, all right, let me make sure people know what is good and what isn't. But it was probably maybe a year or two after the beginning when I realized, like, nah. It was when meetings started. I remember. It was when meetings started to happen, and I couldn't always be with y'all. You know, when I was out and about making opportunities happen, when I was, you know, at any given moment, y'all were in the studio and I was having 8 meetings in a day. You know, that's when I knew, like, oh, no, hold on, man. Like, you know, however this works, like, I'm not going to be next to these guys all the time. You know, like, somebody's got to be there, you know, and what does that mean? Like, make somebody else a version of me? Nah, like, all of y'all should be me. Everyone, because all of y'all's future depends on all of y'all. You know, and I remember I had a meeting with y'all. I remember you and C Mage in specific. You and C Major, I had a meeting with y'all, and I told y'all, the next time I find out that something happened and y'all knew about it and I had to call it out, it was gonna be a problem for y'all. You know. And I remember we had that. We had to go step in Studio A, and we had that conversation. You know what I'm saying? And that was like the turning point for me.
Yeah, bro. But I don't know, bro. It's just crazy. Like, I'm just like I wouldn't say I'm a completely different person, but I just feel like I'm a completely evolved person. I
agree.
Like, from those times where now it's just like, now, you know what I'm saying, your voice or, you know, or my version of your voice, I don't know, these just things are just ingrained, and I could just see it being like, it's like, of course, like, bro, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just I don't know. I'm just extremely grateful for the leadership part of this, because who needed that was me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I needed to be a better leader for my own life. I needed to be able to, like, I think about it as like producing. To me, being a producer is a leadership role, right? Absolutely. And there's so much like paying attention and then like trusting what you noticed when you were paying attention that goes on into it. And I feel like the hardest person to do that for is yourself. Because like there's when it's 2 people or there's multiple people, there's no accountability.
True.
There's no accountability. You can let things slide. You can, like, only you know every lie you told yourself, right?
Right.
Only you know every time you said you was gonna do something and you didn't. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And that there's like 2 people. I feel like there's 2 people inside you. There's you and then the you watching you, right? And so like the you watching you sees you, right? The you that's telling you what you should do sees your behavior and is like, I don't believe this person could do it, because they have a pattern of, you know what I'm saying? And then the you, right? You don't believe a word you say. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you don't have, hey, there's a no memory card cannot play. All right, we back. You don't even believe a word you say. And I feel like that plays into your confidence, because, you know, confidence is, there's like a belief in yourself that's like, there's a part of it, but a lot of it is like evidence-based. Like, there's a pattern of
Right.
Yeah, I've been able to do this. I've done this. Yep. I should be able to do this, right? And if your pattern is every time I say I'm going to do something, I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, how can you have confidence in yourself?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so that leadership, that accountability factor, that being so like ingrained, I feel like that's what's helped build my confidence. You know what I'm saying? Because the accountability, you know what I mean? Like the accountability meter is turned up. Like there's a standard, and I don't know. I feel like we talking about the journeys of and the growths and the experiences of Unapologetic, and I don't know, mine is so linked to like a coming of age story that I just kind of filter all of this through like becoming an adult, becoming like a real person functioning in society. Still learning that, but it's just crazy how these years have passed. There's been progression, but like I almost feel like this is like the very beginning. Like I'm just now started.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. If you had told me it would take 8 years to be this person, 8 years ago, I'd be pretty disappointed. But on paper, but you know what I'm saying? Like in real life, it just takes time. I just feel like I'm finally understanding when people say, yeah, I was grinding for years. It take 10 years. And, I see what they mean. It's not like progress and opportunities and amazing moments don't happen in over the course of that time period. Yeah. But I just feel like that's what it takes. Like it takes years in this game to get to a point where like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of dangerous now. You know what I mean? Like I know you could test that with the music. Like you was doing it for years, every day, like literally showing up for it. And now, you know what I'm saying? Like the producer you are now, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I imagine if you were like 20 and somebody said, all right, you're going to get to this point, but it's going to take you, you know what I'm saying, 10 years or whatever, you'd be like, damn.
And I think the and this is the most common part of that, I think, is people's expectations for themselves. It's specifically around the age 30, right? Like there is like 30 is like death to like 20-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And I can speak so much truth to this, where it's just like, man, there's just, I am so glad that when I was 27, I was in, I think it was 27, I was in a hospital, in Kings County Hospital, and I was dealing with some issues, and I was just watching this video on my phone of a producer named Odyssey. Big shout out Odyssey, you know what I'm saying? And Odyssey said how, to put it in short, he had just like unsubscribed from like the world's timeline for success. Like he had just unsubscribed. And I think it was him using that term, unsubscribed, that like really resonated with me, And I just remember telling myself, like, I unsubscribe. And of course, unsubscribe, you don't just do that overnight. Like you have to pay attention to yourself and realize that you are subscribed in many ways. It's not just an obvious like, okay, I don't care anymore. Like, no, like there are still anxieties in you that are like founded in society's expectations for certain times in your life.
Right.
And it took years, but that's one thing that I try to remind you guys of a lot, is just that, sometimes you guys I'll see some of you, frustrated with where you are and what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll just try to, to keep it real, like, and be like, hey, all of y'all are pretty much still younger than I was when you met me. And so you guys just met me. When you met me, it looked like I had it all figured out, but that was not at 26. Like, you know, and just give yourself time to figure it out, man. You know, your journey. I was just talking to what's her name? B Wade, Brianna Wade, and she was just, thinking, she was saying how she was about to turn 30, and she just was, kind of frustrated with herself because she hadn't figured it out yet. She hadn't figured out her life, and I was just like, that's nothing. Like, that's, trust me, you are on the right path. But the thing that I wanted to harp on a little bit, what you said earlier, right, which was just that about holding yourself accountable. I think the foundation of holding yourself accountable, right, you're saying it's easier to do it on other people, hold other people accountable than it is yourself. Mm-hmm. To me, that's like, I think a lot of people would say like, all right, that's level 1, holding yourself accountable, right? No, holding yourself accountable is level 2. Level 1 is self-awareness, right?
Right.
Self-accountability is the fruit of the tree that is self-awareness, right? How self-aware are you? How much do you take the time to really ask yourself, the things that you do, why do you do them? Right? Like, are you just doing them because somebody told you to do them? Are you accidentally and unintentionally doing things out of a fear or trauma rooted deep in your past? Mm-hmm. Real self-accountability does not start until you look for real self-awareness.
Yeah. The uncomfortable conversation part of it, mm-hmm. right? That's another challenge, bro. Having uncomfortable conversations, bruh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you have an uncomfortable conversation with yourself? And I feel like most people won't, because, like, again, nobody wants to be the bad. Nobody wants to see themselves as, less than ideal. But, you hear it said when it comes to dealing with addictions, with getting therapy, with getting, personal training, with changing your eating, like, it all starts with, like, all right, what's my man Stephen Covey, what does he say? I am, until I accept that I am who I am because of the choices I made yesterday,
yeah,
it's impossible to say I choose differently.
Yep.
Big
shout out Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm pretty sure that's the first book I told you to read, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Like that, Character Over Everything for me starts with like me reading that book. And how much that book changed my life. Whether it's every time I meet somebody young and they're talking about, they want to, change their path and their outlook on things, I recommend that book. I'm going to say it one more time. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can go and get the book. The audio book is on YouTube. If you hit me up, I'll send you the audio book.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So, don't make money your excuse, because it's not an excuse anymore. Everything is everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. So how we doing on time? Oh, man, they got comments in there, Jones?
Yeah, we got some comments, man.
Let's
see what we got. Yeah. They all just popped up at the same time. Big shout out my G Gus. He says, turning 30 in 12 days and just started listening to this at the right time. I feel you. Shout out my G Gus. I feel you. Yeah, Gus, just trust me, bro. You just getting started, man. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. This version of you to start off with is going to be great. You know what I'm saying? So let's get it.
I was noticing in my biblical studies, mm-hmm. like how much, like, I gotta like really analyze this, but of all the people that I've recently just been reading about, like, I feel like Jesus was like the youngest person that really started, or maybe David. David was an anomaly. He started when he was a kid, but everybody else, like, all the like important things that we hear about, that we read about, like
73.
They started mad late. Like this was like they was full grown adults, and I feel like, man, Jesus started. He was 30 or 35 when it was like, all right, let's get, let's get to it.
Right?
Yeah, it's the third day. So it was 30. So yeah, the 30s really be the beginning for a lot, even for, you know what I'm saying, arguably the most important people in history, depending on who you ask.
Absolutely.
Like, you're gonna be out of your 20s longer than you'll be in them. Right. So
you heard the quotable, fam. Yeah, I heard the quotable.
So, you know what I'm saying, get used to it. I'll be turning 30 soon too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We gonna toast it up, man. See what else we got in the comments. LJ said most folks are scared to look into that mirror. That's facts, man. The irony is that everybody taking selfies but afraid to look in the mirror. You feel me? I got my own lines. Come on, man. I'm out here, bro.
Yo, everybody taking selfies but afraid to look in the mirror.
You feel me?
That's hard.
By the way, man, this is how we do, man. We just make up our own jokes and we laugh and we be comedians and audiences all day. Nikita says self-awareness can become real evident when you have a child who exhibits your characteristics. That's real as hell. I'll take a step back. Self-awareness can be real when you have a child and you know he or she eventually will. And so you get extra, let me sit up straight.
Yeah.
That's how I am with my son. It's like I am very aware of how much he looks up to me. And it makes me extra, like, what am I saying? What is my energy? All of that stuff, because he's, a day to him is like a year to me. Like, and so it only takes a day to sow in things that'll last for the rest of his lifetime. Yeah.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah. It's a real jump. So, that's real, Nikita. I feel that 1,000%.
Were you thinking about that before you had a kid? Because I know you wanted a kid, but were you thinking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I think, I don't think it's just by accident that, like, self-awareness has become like a superpower of mine. When I was a kid, and this is one of the key Disney movie magical themes and stuff like that, is because, like, I'll never forget being a kid and feeling misunderstood by adults. And I told myself over and over and over again, never forget what this feels like. Like there was like that, like I would say before I was 8, that was probably the number one thing I told myself. I told myself all the time in my mind, like, never forget that's what it felt like to me. Things you're saying and doing, And so I just remember drilling in my head, like, yo, never forget this. And so now, like, when I look at my son, I just remember how impressionable I was and, like, how so much of who I am came out of feeling misunderstood. And while I'm proud of who I am, like, one of the key and core reasons why I did not talk to adults as a kid, both of my parents, my mom and my dad, would have conversations with me about how little I talked to them. You know what I'm saying? It was because I felt so misunderstood. And I just be thinking to myself, like, yo, if I want my son, and while he might be sad that he don't get a piece of candy, you know what I'm saying? And I might think it's just a piece of candy because I'm an adult. But I remember when a piece of candy was everything. You know what I'm saying? And so when I taught him about that piece of candy means to you in this moment. Because as soon as it feels like I don't understand why he's so sad or happy, that's the decline of him trying to express that to me.
It's real, bro. I can go into the whole, bro. There's so many lessons, man. And I know we be on a time limit, but this is definitely a part 2 jump. Because I really want to go into, like, I want to stay tuned because I want to eventually talk about, like, some of them first studio sessions where like the artist would be in the booth and be like, yo, what you think? Yo, it's straight. You know what I mean? Like, those junts and
those is classic. Damn, I wish we had a GoPro set up, because there's no series of words that is gonna do that justice. You know what I'm saying? Like anyway, I'm not. We gonna skip that.
You know what I'm saying? We gotta come back to it. I definitely want to talk about, like, the weird, like, overly sexual clients and just like what it's like to navigate those. Like,
we got stories.
Yeah,
man.
bro.
We got stories.
Yeah, bro. And then we ain't even mentioned like the discovery of Awful and what it was like to, bring on.
Yeah.
So there's more. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it'll be when it's just me and Mad again or whatever, or, if we do it with the full cast. But yeah, bro. The journey of Unapologetic has been a real one. And there's a lot more. And we're going to share it. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We've definitely gone a little bit over time. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's just me and Kid in the lab, Jackson, you know what I'm saying, making sure we good, you know what I'm saying, in the back. But yeah, I'm glad that when I walked in today, like I said, we knew there were going to be some of our normal cast not here. But when I knew that it was just going to be me and Kid brought up that, he just wanted to talk a little bit about the journey. It was, I didn't know exactly what he was going to ask. We didn't really discuss in detail what it was going to look like. But I'm glad that we got a chance to do that and really share that here today, man. So put some of this stuff on record. This has been another episode of Tight Beat, live from outer space and Unapologetic Studio. My name is Ameg Mad Beats, and behind me
Kid Maestro.
This is the guy who's gonna wait for me to finish.
Yeah, Kid Maestro.
All right, yeah, man, it's Kid Maestro, no doubt.
All right, hold on.
What's up?
Hold on. Hey, since we got y'all here, don't click off.
Okay.
Peep this transition. Check this out, Jackson. This the new addition from Jackson.
Yeah, my G.
You
Jackson.
know what I mean? Watch this. Watch this.
Matter of fact, pull Jackson on. Yo, come to the camera, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, come through over here, bro. You know what I'm saying? This is my man Jackson, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna be helping us out with Tight Beat and just things in general, you know what I'm saying? Jackson, man, where you from, bro?
I'm from Memphis. I've been here my whole life. Road student right now.
Okay.
But just hanging out.
Hell yeah. Big shout out, Jackson. We're about to show y'all the transition that is like just the first of many additions to what we're doing. We're like ultra excited about this. I don't know if we should be this excited or not.
Yeah, we should be.
But but that's what it is.
Y'all should too. You know what I mean?
Oh, one last announcement. We are now officially accepting intern applications to be submitted. If you go to our app, the Unapologetic World app, which is available for iOS and Android devices, in it you can find the application. That is pretty much the only way to apply for this internship. So go and get our app. It's in your app store. Download it. Apply if you're interested. And yeah, that's about it. On that note, stay safe, stay dangerous, stay both, stay neither.
Good night and peep this. Here we go.
Bitch, are you jealous?
Oh shit, here we go again.